A man is standing in a Canadian courtroom. The year is 1995. He's 39 years old. His name is Tommy Hyland. The charge is cheating. The accusers? Some of the biggest casinos in the world. Tommy isn't a con artist or a hustler. He's a math nerd. For nearly 2 decades, he's used nothing more than numbers to outsmart Blackjack, pulling millions straight from the casino's tables. He doesn't use hidden devices. He doesn't mark cards. He just counts them perfectly. Casinos banned him. They blacklisted him. They dragged him into back rooms, roughed him up, and threw him into the street. But no matter what they tried, they couldn't stop him from winning. So they escalated. They had him arrested. Now he's here, in front of a judge. The industry wants him finished. If they succeed, card counting will be branded as a crime. If they fail, the gambling world will never look the same again. This is the story of the card counter the casinos couldn't beat. So they put him on trial. The year is 1978. In a quiet suburb of New Jersey, a 21-year-old named Tommy Hyland is finishing his senior year of college. On paper, his future looks ordinary, but inside, he's restless. He's not interested in grades, lectures, or a 9-to-5 career. What excites him is risk, the kind you can't find in a classroom. Tommy spends most nights hanging out with his closest friend, Neil. They drink at the local bar, play pool, and gamble in private games. In most households, gambling is taboo. In many states, it's still illegal. But for Tommy, it's something else entirely. It's freedom. One afternoon, while wandering through a bookstore, he notices a black and yellow paperback sitting on a shelf. The title is bold, impossible to ignore. Playing Blackjack as a Business by Lawrence Revere. Curious, he flips through the pages. What he finds inside isn't superstition, isn't luck. It's math. Probability tables, betting strategies, cold numbers that claim to beat the house. The idea hooks him instantly. He buys the book, takes it home, and shows Neil. That night, the two of them stay up reading, dissecting every page. Revere's message is simple. With discipline and the right system, Blackjack can be more than a game. It can be a business. The strategy boils down to 2 key ideas. First, basic strategy, a set of rules that tells you the mathematically correct move in any situation. Hit, stand, double, or split. No guessing, no emotion, just percentages. Second, card counting, a method pioneered by mathematician Ed Thorpe. By tracking which cards leave the deck, a player can know when the odds shift in their favor. When the deck is rich in tens and aces, the player has the edge. When it's stacked with low cards, the house does. For Tommy, this is a revelation. Blackjack isn't luck, it's numbers, and numbers are something he can control. That summer, armed with $100 each, Tommy and Neil walk into a newly opened casino in Atlantic City. Their hands tremble as they place their first bets. At first, they whisper to each other, correcting mistakes, grinding through nerves. But as hours pass, they begin to settle. The count rises. Tommy raises his bet. The dealer busts. Chips slide across the felt. By the end of the night, they've doubled their money. By the end of the summer, their $200 bankroll has grown into $2,000. Adjusted for inflation, that's over $9,000 today. The realization is undeniable. The book was right. Card counting works. And for Tommy Hyland, life will never be the same again. By the early 1980s, Tommy Hyland has made a choice that most of his classmates never would. He's dropped out of college to gamble full-time. The small wins in Atlantic City proved one thing. Card counting isn't theory, it works. But if he wants to make real money, he needs more than a single partner. He needs scale. Casinos are designed to grind down individuals. One player at one table can win in the short run, but eventually variance eats into their bankroll. Tommy's solution is to flip the math back in his favor. The way to beat variance is volume. More players, more hands, more hours. If they all share one bankroll, the profits stabilize and the edge compounds. So he rents a modest house just outside Atlantic City. This won't be a party spot. It will be a training camp. Inside, recruits gather. Friends he trusts, smart enough to learn, disciplined enough to follow orders. The rules are strict. Every player must count down a full deck in under 30 seconds. No glancing, no hesitation. If a dealer spots you staring too long at the cards, you're finished. Days blur into nights. Deck after deck is dealt, with Tommy drilling them under pressure. Some can't handle the pace. They're cut immediately. The ones who remain are hardened, sharper than the average gambler, drilled into muscle memory. This is one of the first organized blackjack teams in the world, a group of young counters armed with a 1.5% mathematical edge, united under a bankroll and a system. Together, they're ready to push the casinos harder than ever before. The first test comes in late 1981. Richard, one of his best trainees, sits down at a blackjack table with team money behind him. At first, it's rough. The cards don't fall his way. Thousands disappear in a matter of hours. But Richard sticks to the count, raising his bets when the edge swings back. By the end of the night, he's up over $100,000. Back at the house, the team celebrates, but Tommy's reaction is different. He doesn't see a single lucky win. He sees proof that his system can generate hundreds of thousands of dollars if run at scale. To him, this isn't gambling anymore. It's a business. But the casinos are watching, and they don't like what they see. Success doesn't stay quiet for long. By 1982, the team's steady profits have become impossible to ignore. Casino accountants notice tables losing far more than expected. Pit bosses whisper to managers. Surveillance rooms start tracking familiar faces. And then the countermeasures begin. Dealers shuffle earlier than usual, breaking up favorable decks. Floor staff hover behind players, staring them down. Sometimes it's more subtle, a waitress offering free drinks again and again, hoping to cloud a player's focus. But other times, it's blunt. One night, Tommy himself is spotted mid-session. Security approaches from behind, gripping his chair. He's told to leave immediately. When he protests, they don't debate. They drag him into a side hallway, out of sight from the public. The message is clear. In the casino's world, card counters are cheats, and cheats get punished. Tommy is shoved against a wall, searched, and finally marched to the exit. Before the night is over, he's banned for life from that property. Stories like this ripple through the advantage play community. Players are roughed up in back rooms, threatened, even beaten. It isn't law enforcement handing down these punishments, it's private security. The casinos make their own rules, and in their eyes, anyone exploiting the math is the enemy. And where most would quit, Tommy reacts differently. To him, this proves the stakes are real. The casinos are scared because they know the team's system works. And if intimidation is the best they can do, then he's willing to push back harder. By the mid-1980s, Tommy Hyland has been thrown out of more casinos than he can count. Each time, the pattern is the same. Security identifies him, escorts him out, and warns him never to come back. Sometimes it's verbal, other times it's physical. But in every case, the message is that he doesn't belong. Tommy sees it differently. He isn't breaking the law. He isn't using hidden devices, marking cards, or bribing dealers. He's applying logic and memory to a game the casino itself offers. If they can bar him for that, what stops them from barring anyone? So he tries something few gamblers ever consider. He fights back in court. The strategy is simple. Whenever he or his teammates are ejected under suspicion of card counting, they document everything. Who pulled them aside, what was said, how long they were held. Then, Tommy files lawsuits for wrongful detention or unlawful arrest. At first, the casinos treat these cases as a nuisance, but when they start adding up, the settlements become impossible to ignore. Some reach six figures. In 1 year alone, Tommy's filings reportedly bring in over $1 million combined, not from the tables, but from the legal system. For the team, this becomes almost as profitable as blackjack itself. They play, they get banned, and then they get paid. The casinos, eager to avoid public trials that might expose their tactics, quietly settle again and again. But money isn't the only reason Tommy pursues this. He's chasing something bigger, recognition that what he's doing isn't cheating, that card counting is a skill, not a crime. And if the courts will hear his case, he believes he can force the entire industry to admit it. It's a dangerous escalation. The casinos aren't just losing money at the tables now, they're losing face in court. And soon, they'll respond with something stronger than ejections or settlements. Las Vegas was never going to let someone like Tommy Hyland run unchecked. By the late 1980s, the casinos had learned a painful lesson. Banning a player here and there wasn't enough. Counters simply moved to another property, or worse, returned in disguise. The industry needed a coordinated defense. Enter Griffin Investigations. Founded by former law enforcement officers, Griffin built a business around one goal: identifying and cataloging advantage players. They circulated bulletins to nearly every major casino in the country. Each one carried grainy photographs, detailed descriptions, and notes on behavior. Once your face appeared in a Griffin report, you weren't banned from one casino, you were banned from all of them. For Tommy, the impact was immediate. He and his teammates found themselves recognized more and more often. A shift manager would spot them at a table, step away, and minutes later security would arrive. No explanation or discussion, just an escort to the door. In Vegas, where casinos shared information daily, the blacklist became an invisible wall around the entire city. The consequences went beyond exclusion. Surveillance teams began using hidden cameras to build files. Dealers were trained to shuffle earlier if they suspected an edge. Even waitresses were briefed on what to watch for. The network was tightening, and it was designed to squeeze players like Tommy out of existence. But Hyland wasn't ready to walk away. The more casinos tried to shut him down, the more determined he became to adapt. If recognition was the problem, then disguise was the answer. His players began wearing wigs, fake beards, even altered glasses. It was clumsy at times, but it bought them just enough cover to keep playing. The cat-and-mouse game was escalating. The casinos had surveillance, databases, and private investigators. Tommy had discipline, strategy, and a team willing to push the limits. And in the early 1990s, he would unveil his boldest adjustment yet, a new system designed to confuse not just dealers, but the surveillance rooms themselves. The solution is misdirection. Instead of relying on straightforward card counting, the team layers in new methods that make their play look irregular, even chaotic. The most powerful of these is ace tracking, a system that predicts when high-value cards, especially aces, are likely to appear after the shuffle. Combined with traditional counting, it creates devastating opportunities for perfectly timed bets. But Hyland adds another twist. He brings women into the team, a rarity in the male-dominated world of advantage play. To casino staff, they appear as casual girlfriends, uninterested companions along for the ride. In reality, they're part of the act. While the men keep the count, the women signal opportunities with subtle nudges. One tap for a small edge, two for a strong one. To the cameras, it looks like natural movement. To the team, it's a code. The results are immediate. Betting patterns no longer match the textbook counters surveillance is trained to catch. Wins appear random, luck-driven, impossible to pin down. For 3 straight years, the team rotates through casinos across North America, pulling in steady 6-figure profits while the house struggles to understand what's happening. The deception works so well that at times, even dealers suspect nothing. Tables run late into the night, chips piling up as Tommy's players quietly push the edge without triggering alarms. For the first time in years, the advantage is theirs again. But like every system before it, this too has a shelf life. The longer they run it, the greater the chance that someone, somewhere, will notice the pattern. And in 1994, at a brand new casino in Ontario, one man finally does. To be exact, that happened in the fall of 1994. A new casino opened its doors in Ontario, Canada. For Tommy Hyland and his team, it's the perfect target. Opening week is chaos. Management is focused on crowds, dealers are inexperienced, and surveillance crews are stretched thin. For card counters, that chaos means opportunity. The team takes their seats at a fresh blackjack table. Chips stack high, the count is favorable, and the signals begin. A nudge under the table, then another. Richard, one of the lead players, raises his bet to the maximum. The dealer busts. Chips slide across the felt. Hand after hand, the system runs flawlessly. But as Richard looks up, a face catches his eye. It's a floor manager he recognizes, not from Canada, but from Las Vegas. A veteran who has seen every trick in the book. And this time, he's been watching closely. The nudges under the table, the synchronized bets, the silent coordination. Within an hour, security closes in. Richard and several teammates are pulled from the table and escorted away. There's no backroom beating this time. There's a holding cell. For the first time, the team isn't just banned, they're under arrest. The charges are serious, using signals to cheat the casino. Bail is set at $220,000. News spreads quickly. This isn't a quiet ejection or a hush settlement. This is a criminal case. For the casino industry, it's the chance they've been waiting for. If a judge rules that card counting and advanced strategies qualify as cheating, it could end the debate once and for all. Back in the United States, Tommy hears the news. His players are behind bars, accused of crimes he insists they didn't commit. The casinos want to draw a line in the sand, but Tommy sees an opening. If this case goes to trial, it won't just be about one team in Ontario. It will be about every card counter in the world. His decision is immediate. They won't settle. They'll fight, and this time, the battlefield won't be the casino floor. It will be the courtroom. The trial begins in early 1995. The Ontario courtroom is filled with lawyers, reporters, and casino executives. For once, the game is not blackjack. It's the law, and the stakes are higher than any bet Tommy Hyland has ever made. The prosecution paints a simple picture. Hyland's team worked together, used signals, and manipulated the game. To them, it's cheating. They call witnesses, including industry experts, who describe shuffle tracking, ace location, and card counting as if they were elaborate scams. But under cross-examination, the story unravels. The defense points out what every player in the room already knows. Keeping track of cards isn't against the rules. Players are free to observe. They're free to raise or lower bets. Even communication between players isn't explicitly banned. When asked directly if it's illegal for a gambler to remember cards already dealt, witnesses have no choice but to answer no. Then, the pit boss from the night of the arrest is called to the stand. He admits that players are allowed to interact, to keep mental notes, to adjust wagers. The judge listens carefully, asking pointed questions. So, what exactly did they do that was unlawful? The courtroom falls silent. When the verdict is read, it's clear. No crime has been committed. Card counting is not cheating. Tommy Hyland and his teammates are free to go. For the first time, a court has drawn a hard line against the casino industry. Intelligence, memory, and discipline are not crimes. Players have the right to use their brains at the table. The decision reverberates across the gambling world. Advantage players hail it as a landmark victory. Casinos, furious at the outcome, prepare to respond in their own way. They can't change the law, but they can change the rules of the game. The 1995 verdict should have been the end of the fight. Card counting wasn't a crime, no matter how hard the casinos tried to frame it. But victories in court don't always translate into victories at the tables. So, as always, casinos adapted. And they adapted fast. New rules spread across the industry. 6-deck and 8-deck shoes replaced single decks. Dealers were ordered to shuffle more frequently, breaking up hot counts. Automatic shuffling machines eliminated tracking altogether. Betting limits tightened. Player databases expanded. And the Griffin blacklist grew larger than ever. So, technically, casinos had lost the legal battle, but they won the practical one. They couldn't stop people from counting cards, but they could make the game nearly unbeatable. Tommy's team kept going, adjusting, disguising, finding cracks where they could. Some members retired quietly. Others kept playing well into the 2000s, making smaller but steady profits. In 2013, one longtime teammate was prosecuted, not for cheating, but for failing to declare winnings to the government. Even then, the fight wasn't about the cards. It was about the system around them. Today, Tommy Hyland is remembered as one of the first to prove that blackjack could be treated like a business. He built one of the longest-running teams in history.